Today I'm going to show you how to install OEM fog lights on a ProMaster van and how to enable them with AlphaOBD software. The first thing we want to do is make sure that the van is compatible for fog lights. And the easiest way to do that is to crawl underneath and look up and see if you have the proper plug-in for the fog lights. And as you will see, that connector right there, the black connector next to the yellow with the green arrow pointing at it, is the connector that you're looking for. The lights mount to the back side of the front bumper side covers, and you will note that there's a hole there. It doesn't come that way. You have to cut the hole yourself, which I will get into later. Now we're going to talk about the parts needed for this job. You can get a kit from the dealer, part number 822-14048, that gives you everything that you need to mount the lights. There are two different kits out there though that for some reason have the same number, but you want to make sure you get the kit with the switch assembly as shown there. You need to switch to to turn the fog lights on and off. I don't think the existing switch can be modified to work. Let's talk about the tools needed. First off, you need a Torx T10 and Torx T20, some type of plastic pry tool, and a small screwdriver. I use that for a pry tool also. Small stubby screwdriver for taking the battery cover off, and a standard Phillips. Also, you need a hole saw with a 2.5-inch bit on it, a rotary file, and a Dremel tool with a drum sander tool on it. If your van has splash guards, you will also need a 5/16 nut driver to remove that. And most importantly, a way to enable the fog lights with OBD software. We'll get into that later. Let's be safe about this whole project. So next step is to remove the battery covers so that you can disconnect the battery itself. And it's just a matter of loosening the fasteners there and pulling the cover off. There's about 5 fasteners to be done, and then it just lifts right out. Now you want to go to the negative terminal of the battery, and you'll see there is a little lever on there, and you want to move that lever up. And it could be a little tight, so I always just kind of pry it with a screwdriver, and there we go. And then you grab the whole assembly there and just lift it off the terminal like that. And the battery is now disconnected. The next step is to cut the openings in the front bumper covers. It calls for a 3-inch hole, but all I had was a 2.5-inch hole saw, so I used my rotary file and the Dremel tool to open up a little farther and get the size hole that I needed. As you can see, it turned out pretty well. Got to do both sides. Now let's mount the switch. Take your plastic trim tool, and we're going to remove the cover over the shift knob. You pry at the top and pry at the bottom. Just comes right out, pops out of the way, and that gives you access to the switch housing. And the next thing to do there is there's a Torx underneath the cup holder there, 1 Torx screw, and remove that rubber liner, and then use your T20 Torx bit and take the screw out of there. The next step is to grab your pry tool again and pull up on the cover. You may not need the pry tool. You can probably do it with just your fingers. And the cover pops right out. Might have to work at it a little bit. There we go. And that'll give you access to the plug-in behind the switch. There's a little tab that you push down, and then that'll allow the black handle to rotate up and the switch or the plug come out of the switch itself. And then you can maneuver yourself around and get to the screws required to remove the switch. Even though the switch assembly can be changed out in the van, I pulled the unit out to make it easier to show you what's going on, how to do it. You do have to disconnect the USB and the charge port to get the thing out. Right there I'm showing the tabs that hold everything in place. There's the switch itself, and as you can see, it's got the fog light button on it. The other one did not. It's just a matter of removing. There's 6 screws that hold the switch into the housing, and they're T10 Torx. I've taken most of them out. Going to get the last one out. Kind of hard to hold the camera, and I'm right-handed, so let's do the switcheroo here and make it a little easier on myself. Get that last screw out, and the switch just comes right out of the housing. Put the new one in its place, put the screws back in, and you're good to go. Now we'll put the switch housing back in the van. It's just the reverse of the removal. You put the plug in to the back of the switch, push it down, and rotate that little black handle all the way forward until you hear it click, and it'll give you a nice solid click. And then it's just a matter of putting the tabs back in the slots. Might have to push down a little bit to do that, and then it just pops in. Just give it a little tap, and then the shifter cover housing goes back in the same way. It just pops in. Don't forget the Torx screw that goes back in the cup holder. Now we're going to install the fog lights themselves. First thing to do is put the cable up in there. It goes up underneath the cover about there. You saw from the earlier picture where the connector was. Just a matter of crawling underneath and plugging it in. Just get your hand up in there. Probably more difficult for me to get the camera up to show you what's going on than it is to plug it in. But the cable just goes right up in there and plugs in. Picture's not very good, but there it is, plugged in. Next thing, we put the housing on the back of the bumper cover, and there's 2 screws that hold that in place, and just standard Phillips to mount those up. Once again, you got to go up underneath. If you don't mind standing on your head, it's not a bad job. But there's only one way it'll go on. There's a tab right there that goes in a slot on the housing. I might add there's a left and a right on the housing, but it just gets mounted with the 2 Phillips head screws. Next step is to put in the fog light itself. Same light for both sides, held in with 3 Phillips screws. There's an adjuster on the light right there. I'm turning it with my hand, and what that does is allows you to adjust the position of the light up and down. The light only goes in one way. It has bottom stamped on it for proper orientation, and once you get it in place with the 3 screws, it's just a matter of plugging in the connector and you're good to go. Here's a better view of the completed assembly. Everything all in its proper place and hooked up. And there you have it. Now it's just a matter of doing the other side. After you're finished, you want to hook the battery back up. Just a matter of putting the assembly back on the terminal post. And I always like to make sure it's secure. Tap with it lightly with a hammer to make sure it's seated fully. And then it's just a matter of pushing that tab back over, and it's tight and it holds everything in place. Now we can put our cover back on. The next step is to connect to the van computer and enable the fog lights. We do this with a OBD2 scan tool, what's known as the yellow adapter, and the AlphaOBD app on an Android device. Links to what I use are posted on the description of the video itself. The first step is to locate the OBD port, and it is underneath the dash, and it's right there. You want to take your scan tool and plug it into that port. It'll only go one way, and you can see there's a couple of status lights on there that just came on. That tell you that your Bluetooth is active and your power's on. Next thing you want to do is turn your key to the on position, but don't start. Next, we want to set up the phone for Bluetooth communication with the OBD device, and you do that by hitting settings and then connections, and then go to your Bluetooth, and next thing you have to do is hit the little button on the OBD scan tool to start the pairing operation. Once your pairing is successful, OBD Links LX will show up under your paired devices. Once you're paired up, you can close out of settings, and now you want to call up the AlphaOBD app. And we'll try once more. There we go. Okay. Next thing you want to do is set up the software. There's a tab at the top that looks like 3 little gears, and you want to push on that. And once that's done, that'll open up your settings guide. Next, you want to click on Interface and verify that the OBD linked Bluetooth box is checked, which it is. And now you can close out of the settings. Now we want to click on the Bluetooth icon at the upper left of the screen and choose OBD Links LX. And it'll say connecting, and now that we're connected, it's just a matter of enabling the fog lights themselves. This is done from this screen by first choosing Dodge Ram. You can toggle back and forth. You want Dodge Ram, and then the vehicle, the model. Click on that. Is Ram Promaster, BF. You got to scroll down and find it. Click on that. And now we want to, the function, we want to go to the body computer. Click on that. Now we have to select a control unit. There's only one choice. Click on that. Next thing you want to do is hit the connect button, and it'll give you a warning about the yellow cable, and you say OK, and pretty soon it will show connected. Now you want to click on the open hood icon at the bottom of the screen. Next you want to select procedure to start, and it will be all the way down at the bottom called car configuration. And you want to click on that, car configuration. And now you want to select the option, and the option is front fog lights. Next you click on the select value tab, and the value you want will be enabled. Now you want to hit the start button, and it will tell you that your change has been successful. That's all there is to it. Just a matter now of closing out the app, shutting the car off, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then start it back up and see if your lights work. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. I will be making more videos concerning ProMaster, and you can find them on my website at electronics.com.